the kid that stayed behind with him seen him take a pill, and he said as he was rolling it up, he collapsed. And when he collapsed, the kid said he turned him onto his side, and rather than call and get help, the little boy decided to rob my son and left him to die. Keanu was a firecracker. He was, it's not was, he is. He still is to this day, even spiritually. He was very energetic. He was always just talking smack. It was just, that was just his personality. When he was younger, he was about 5, 6 years old, he was diagnosed with ADHD. So from 6 years old on until, I want to say about 15, he was on medication for it. So at 15, being your typical teenager, he told me, he says, you know what? I'm taking myself off my medication because it's not right that you're giving me drugs. So I respected that, and I said, okay, then we need to find other ways to help you cope, you know? Well, long and behold, he started smoking marijuana. Once my mom had passed, because him and my mother, they were really close, that's when Keanu started his own grieving process. So I noticed that he was smoking more weed, wasn't now coming home. And it got to the point where we told him, you know what, we're done fighting with you. If you're going to go and smoke your stuff, then you need to smoke it earlier in the day where you come home somewhat sober. Okay, you're not going to come home high as a kite because it's rude and disrespectful, and we're not going to allow it. So his grieving took a toll for like a whole year and a half. A whole year and a half, it was an emotional roller coaster because while he was out and about, the police were picking him up for whatever and bringing him home. And it was just like, enough is enough. You know, Keanu, we can't keep doing this. And I even told the officers, I said, take him to juvie. I said, he needs to learn a lesson. We don't know what else more to do. We've done school counseling. We've done private counseling. We've done it all. We're out of options here. He ended up he finally got his head out of his bum. Let's just put it that way. Finally got his head out of his bum and respected what we were asking of him. So he was doing what we asked him to do. He was smoking his wacky weed early in the day. He was still going to school. He was coming home doing his chores. He was going to work. The only indicator of drug use was his marijuana. And that's when he would be coming down and he'd eat up the whole house. That was it. You know, so, you know, the years went by, and I guess he was tired of running the streets and the cops bringing him home. And so he was just like, you know what, Ma? He goes, it's time. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to respect Dad in the house, and I'm going to do right. I said, okay, Keanu. Okay. So he was just like, let me just have my privacy and away from you, Ma, so you can work and this and that. I said, okay. So he turned the garage into his own room. So he had 3 jobs: Jack in the Box, the car wash, and then with the city of Sacramento with landscaping. I mean, he was busy 7 days a week. So where did he have the time to do anything? April 22nd, 2021. 3:15 in the morning, I get up, and it was not out of the normal that Keanu was up at that time as well with his ADHD and stuff. So, of course, he's a meet and greet in the kitchen, and it was always a kiss, a hug and a kiss on the forehead every single day faithfully. There wasn't a day, morning and night, that I didn't get it unless, he didn't come home. So anyways, the meet and greet in the kitchen, kiss on the forehead, good morning, Ma, and he started going on at the mouth. And I was just like, Keanu, stop. I just woke up. Let me just get my coffee first. Oh, Ma, okay, but I want to tell you about my girlfriend, and I'm meeting her mom. And I'm like, hold on, time out. I'll get back to you. Just let me get my coffee. Oh, okay, Ma, okay. And he goes back to the garage. So I get my coffee, and about 15, 20 minutes goes by, and, I have my coffee, I'm making lunch, and I said, let me go out there. I open up the washroom, the washroom door to the garage, and I seen Keanu. His back is towards me. He had his own little setup with his game console. He had his beach chair. He had his game console, his game. He's got a blanket over him. And I see his head leaned back with the controller in his hands. And the TV's on, and he's asleep. And, of course, I didn't think nothing of it. I grabbed my phone, and I started video recording him, because I was going to have a conversation with him later about leaving things on and falling asleep. So as I'm recording, I was not aware until after his passing that he was overdosing then. So again, I'm recording him. I see him. I still see him breathing. I see his eyes kind of flutter open and shut. And again, he had 3 jobs. I thought he was just tired. So I nudged his shoulder, and I said, hey, Keanu. I said, baby, if you're that tired, why don't you get up and go sleep on the couch? You'll be more comfortable. And he kind of looked up, and he was like, okay. And then I nudged him again, and I go, no, seriously, get up, go get on the couch. You'll be more comfortable. I said, but you need to turn this all off. And he goes, okay, Ma, I will. I said, now, Keanu. And he woke up, and he was just like, okay. So I go back in the house. Evidently, he does. I get ready for work. And I left the house at 4:15 that morning. And he was asleep on the couch. And so I was backing out my motorcycle. This is his head. And as I'm backing out the motorcycle, I'm right over his head. He looks up at me, and he goes, now, before I tell you our last words, when we say sexy, to us, it means that you look good. I don't want any confusion. So he looks up at me, and he goes, hey, Ma. He says, you think I'm sexy? And I'm looking down at him, and I giggle just like that. And I'm like, what? He goes, you think I'm sexy? And I just looked at him, and I'm like, boy. And he goes, but don't I get all my sexiness from you? And I looked down at him, and I winked, and I said, you damn skippy, you do. And he goes, thanks, Ma. I love you. I said, I love you too, Keanu. And closed the garage door. I went on my way, and that was that. So Dad leaves an hour after me. And Dad says he was up. He was, running on at the mouth about how his girlfriend this, and he reunited with an old school friend from middle school. And he was going to meet her mom today. The mom was going to pick him up. And, and Dad was like, okay, cool, Keanu. And Keanu says, yeah, Dad, even the mom said that if I needed anything, I could go over there and just ask for whatever. And he was like, oh, well, very nice. Just make sure that you go to school, you come home, do your chores, go to work. And, he goes, oh, yeah, Dad, I will. And so he goes, okay. He goes, have a good day. And he goes, I love you, Dad. And he goes, I love you too. Pulled out his truck mirrors, and Dad left off to work. So he's getting himself ready. And I have a camera in the garage. And I seen at 7:34, he's pacing the garage, and he's hitting himself with a towel. And I can hear him breathing. And I just figured it was just him, just really excited, getting himself together, dressed for school and whatever. And again, I didn't know anything about anything until after the facts of him passing. Well, he was overdosing then. And so, anyways, he proceeded. He had his music on. He was getting ready for school. And next thing I know, he's dressed, and I see the garage door open, and I seen a white car pull up, and he gets into it. And that's all I seen as far as my cameras. So he spent his morning, afternoon with the girlfriend. She used my son to run and get pills for her. I remember Keanu's friends telling him, "What are you doing with her? You know, she's no good. You know, she does pills, and, you know, she only dates older men. Why you, Keanu? I mean, she doesn't mess with kids her age." Keanu wasn't listening. So he was running for her, bringing them back, sneaking them back to her. And I believe it was his curiosity that got the best of him. And that's the reason why he started taking the pills when he did. He wanted to know what she was feeling. And that's what his curiosity got him. So my neighbors they let him use the phone. He made a couple calls. After he made the calls and met up with the dealer, and now, mind you, this was after leaving the girlfriend's house, spending the morning and the afternoon with her, he ended up at the park, which is the park right across the street from our house. There was 4 friends there upon his arrival. So, of course, they all smoked weed, so they all decided that they were going to smoke. 3 of them, after said and done, said we were going to go home. It was dinner time. Well, one of them decided to stay back with Keanu. And Keanu sent the girlfriend a message through his Google Chrome laptop telling her, "I'm here, babe, at the park. I'm going to roll up a wood, and then I'm going to go home for dinner." That was it. That was his last message to her. So the kid that stayed behind with him, seeing him take a pill, Keanu didn't hide it either. So Keanu took a pill and was rolling up another, as they call it, a wood. And he said as he was rolling it up, he collapsed. And when he collapsed, the kid said he turned him onto his side so he wouldn't throw up on himself. And he splashed water in his face, trying to wake him up. They were in the big stall in the restroom when this had happened. And rather than call and get help, the little boy decided to rob my son of the rest of the weed that he had and left him to die and did not get help. So he went through his belongings, took his weed, went home, which is 7 houses down from mine, and threw the bag of weed on his sister's bed and told her, "We need to hide this because I don't want Keanu to be in any more trouble than what he's going to be in." His sister told him, "No, you need to go give that back to him. That's his." And at that time, like I mentioned, Keanu would be home at 6 o'clock for dinner. He was never late. So when 6 o'clock rolled around and there was no Keanu, I told my husband, I said, "No Keanu?" He's like, "No." I go, "That's not like him." Because now, mind you, he's on the right track. He was on the right track. So I said, "That's odd." 6:38, we hear the sirens. My neighbor checks in on us. I said, "We're okay. We're just waiting for Keanu to get home." And she says, "Okay, I was just wanting to check in." My daughter-in-law pulls in the driveway. She comes in. And I told her, I said, "Hey, Cynthia," I said, let's go to the corner and be nosy." Now, this day was I'll never forget. It was so cold and so windy. We go to the corner, we're looking at the park. They have everybody there, the cops, the ambulance, detectives. It was just packed. And we must not have been out there 30 seconds. That's how cold it was. And I said, let's go back inside. It's too cold. And I asked her, I said, hey, have you seen Keanu? And she was like, no. And I go, okay. I said, he's still not home. And she goes, oh, no. So now here we are, 7 o'clock. I'm normally heading for bed. And, I told my husband, I said, I'll make a plate for Keanu, leave it in the microwave. He'll be home real soon. I know he will be. And he was like, all right. He goes, well, it's time for your bed. And I go, yeah, I know. But I said, just something isn't settling right with me. I said, because like I said, he's always home. And he goes, let's go to bed. I'll wait up. I'll wait up for him. You get some rest. As soon as he walks through that door, I'll wake you up. And I'm like, okay. I went to sleep. Hours later, my phone goes off. And it's ting, 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 back-to-back text messages. And now this is 4 hours later. I wake up, I look over, and I see my husband. He's still awake. He's on his iPad. And I said, Keanu home? And he's like, no, babe, he's not home. I'm like, what? He goes, your phone's going off. I looked at it, and it was just a number. And it was the girlfriend. Come to find out, it was the girlfriend. She asked me if I was Keanu's mom and if I was to get to the park because there was a bunch of FBI's there. She heard that Keanu overdosed. And I was like, wait, what? I said, who, what, when, why, how, pretty much. And she was just like, just get over there because the FBI and the detectives, they're all at the friend's house. They're questioning the family. And because they were the last ones with him at the park and this and that. And I'm like, wait, overdose off of what? And she says, tell them it's a perk 30. I said, this is a joke, right? And she goes, ma'am, get to the park. I flew out of the bed, no robe, no shoes, nothing. I mean, just the little bit that I had on. And that run to the park felt forever, like I was never going to get there. And as I approached the park into the driveway, a detective walks up, and I had asked him what was going on. And the detective asked me, like, pretty much, what's it to you? And I said, does this have to do with an overdose? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, I may be the mother. He asked me, he says, what's your child's name? I said, Keanu. And he goes, yes, it is. At that time, I didn't pay no mind to nothing else in the background. So I automatically started asking, okay, which hospital, which ambulance, which way did he go? I mean, 101 questions. And the detective looked at me and he says, I'm sorry, ma'am, he didn't make it. I'm like, what do you mean he didn't make it? So where is he? And he turned around and he pointed to the restroom. And I seen the yellow taping all taped around the trees in the restroom. I collapsed. Right there, my whole world turned upside down, right then and there. And I felt nothing after that. As far as how cold it was or the wind or anything, it was like didn't even exist. A part of me had just exited this world along with my son. And so we were out there. We were out there for an additional 4 hours. And we were out there until almost 2 a.m. and when the coroners came. And they did their work, an investigation. And I had asked her, I said, is there the possibility we could see him? And she says, let me check on his condition, and it varies. I said, okay. Well, she comes back out. She hands me a paper bag, and it was all of his belongings. So, they had him in a bag, in a white bag, on a stretcher. They brought him out. All of us were there, family and friends, and we were able to say our last goodbyes. that way. The bag was zipped from his chest on down. And I made it a point to feel his chest because I wanted to feel for myself that he was gone. I put my hand on his heart, on his chest. I didn't feel nothing. I put it on his neck for a pulse. There was nothing. And I grabbed both of his cheeks and I gave him his last kiss on the forehead. And I told him I loved him again that day. And everybody else did as well. And those were our goodbyes that day, April 22nd, 2021. We have a crisis on our hands, and this is big. There was an investigation, but I can't comment any further than that at the moment.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm okay. Keeping his memories alive. Every day, I look for signs in the sky, just signs anywhere of Keanu. That's showing me that my guardian angel is with me 24/7. And he's always around, one way or another. And not just that, but he's my strength. He's my rock. He's the one that gives me the love and the courage and the strength to be here today to help spread the awareness and hopefully to save another life or two or three, even more, with his story being told. That's what I'm here for.